In the 22-23 season, Brighton surprised the Premier League and battled for a European place under the fantastic coaching of Robert De Zerbi. He has now left the club after the 23-24 season, not quite going as well. Rumours of disgruntled players meant that he got the chop at the end of the season and he is head off to the French League. So they have hired the youngest manager in Premier League history, and we are using his fantastic attacking 3-4-3 tactics today to rebuild Brighton and see how far we can take them in just one season. Now, the new coach is just 31 years of age. His name is Fabian Hürzeler, and here are his fantastic tactics. We'll be using 3 different variations of these tactics as we go through this rebuild with Brighton and look to see if we can challenge for European places yet again. He plays a 3-4-3. It's fast, it's aggressive, it's really lovely football to watch, and we're going to see some of that in the Football Manager match engine today as well. We've got 3 tactics: an attacking variant, an offensive variant, and the bog standard. I'm going to make these all fun and dandy before the end of the season and show you guys through the normal variant, and the other 2 are available on Patreon for the exclusive. I mean, you're absolutely legends support over there, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, Brighton have been very busy this transfer window already. They've signed a fantastic young right winger in Kempi from Newcastle. They've signed Matt Weifer, the standout central defence midfielder of Feyenoord last season. We look through the rest of the team. They obviously got the fantastic Dutch goalkeeper Bart Verbruggen in goal with a great Euros for the Netherlands. They've also signed the likes of Valentin Barco a couple of years ago, and I believe there's a few more as well. Yalakule is coming as a young central defence midfielder, and Osman as well as the last one to check out. Ibrahim Osman, a very quick Ghanaian winger. Now, due to the amount of fantastic young wingers Brighton have, I mean, Mitoma, Minte, Adingra, and Ciso, we are loaning out Osman, probably Kozia Dubry as well, Abdul Asima, Buonanotte. We'll keep a track of the loanees because I want to see how they get on before the end of the season. Of course, we're putting all of our hopes into Evan Ferguson, and I've only really got one signing I want to make, and another centre-back is what I want. I do like Igor, Webster, Veltman, Dunk, and Heke, but I feel like another one is needed as we are now playing a 3-back system. So let's get right into it. We have got a grand total of £70 million to spend. Now, this is going to be done in full realism, so don't worry. I'm not going to spend 70 million. We're going to look for an absolute bargain. And in my humblest opinion, that's exactly what we've done. Signing Shunta Tanaka from Sapporo over in Japan. And decided to go for a little bit of a commercial signing to help, grow Brighton in the Japanese game. They've already got their standout performer in Mitoma. Want to bring in another Japanese player, and this guy actually looks fantastic. I've never seen him before. He looks brilliant. Great positioning, passing, technique, and first touch. And because he is quite slow, with only 10 pace and 10 acceleration, he's going to fit into our ball-playing defender on cover. An absolute dream. So we need to sit back. We don't need that outrageous pace. And he's going to just dictate the tempo and hopefully be a beautiful player for us for just £2 million as well, with also extreme consistency. I'm a massive fan. I mean, that's pretty much all we've done in terms of the team. In terms of the tactics, they're exactly the same. We just moved Tanaka into the middle centre-back role. Dunk, Heke, Verbruggen, March, Estupinian, Baleba and Weifer, João Pedro, Mitoma and Ferguson. It's a very young, exciting, attacking team. I'm hoping we can bring that today to this Brighton rebuild. So let's see. Season 1 is all we're going to do today in the rebuild. Let's get into the first month of August. Well, game number 1 was up against Nottingham Forest away from home. And it was a game, to be honest, I was a little bit worried about. Some new tactics, some new players coming in, and a very young side, but we off to a great start thanks to an own goal from Willy Bolly, and quite frankly we didn't turn back from there. Tanaka, you can see from Van Heke, the great overlapping run of Solly March, which Fabian likes to get in to his tactics. Overlapping wing backs, inverted wingers is exactly what we are looking at. Even him and Sangare did score for Nottingham Forest, but you can see again the build up from the back. Van Heke, a great ball to João Pedro, the overlapping run of March did throw them off, found Ferguson in the box, and it was a goal for 3-1 and a convincing first game here in charge of Brighton. Next up was Everton, and just showing our fantastic rotation, Simon Adingra scored in a 1-0 victory. 71% possession, 16 shots to their 8, and it's safe to say a pretty good start to the Premier League. And for the first time we used our defensive system, and again we won away from home at Newcastle, a team that we are certainly battling with to get into them Champions League or Europa League places. and a 91st minute winner from James Milner was the difference. And for the final game of August, could we carry on our winning streak? What do you think? I think we can. João Pedro pokes through the legs of Areola after a lovely set-piece play, and Solly March shows the set-pieces are dominant again, whipping it in, falling to the back post to Lewis Dunk, and a 2-0 victory against West Ham leaves the mighty Seagulls joint top of the Premier League. Just a 6-goal difference, 4 wins in 4 games. We are consistent, we are clinical, and we are challenging for European places. But there is a lot more to go through until we get back into it, because you can see from the loans being, we've been absolutely mental. I'm just going to click through every single one so you can see where some of the fantastic players at Brighton have gone out on loan. I've tried to do it as realistic as possible. Someone like Billy Gilmore is rumoured to leave the club to Napoli, so he's left. I believe he's gone back to Chelsea, which is a little bit mental. But I've tried to be realistic, sell the players they are looking at still in real life, and loan the players they are in real life as well. Doing as well as we can. It's safe to say the Brighton depth is fantastic, and I'm going to try and keep that up in this rebuild as well, and keeping, bringing in a few young players in January and really buff out this squad for you guys over on Patreon. Safe to say it couldn't have been a better start. We also won in the Carabao Cup as well. This time was up against West Brom, a 2-1 victory, and our new Japanese centre-back Shunta Tanaka scored in the 93rd minute, so we were going through to the 3rd round. Maybe it was beginner's manager luck. We've been absolutely battered by Crystal Palace 4-1. I don't quite know how this happens after winning 4 games in a row, but the beauty of the Premier League, anything can happen. Thankfully, we did bounce back against Brentford with a 2-1 victory, but conceded 4 goals again away from home against Liverpool, showing our defensive system probably needs a little bit of work before I give this to you guys over on the Patreon. And this absolutely smashing against Manchester City just shows exactly that. We've lost 5-1. We need to tighten up this defence, because against the big teams, we're being opened up, and we've even conceded 4 against Palace. So certainly some work to do, but that can come. We will get there, because lucky enough we are still beating the teams we should be. We beat Fulham 1-0, and West Brom were the team that got promoted through the playoffs in the Championship, and we beat them 2-1, and even Jack Hinchelwood getting on the score sheet. I want this guy to become a superstar by the end of this season as well. I want to get him integrated fully into the team. He has fantastic potential and really is one of them wonder kids on FM you have to be looking out for. And we finished off the month as well, beating Sunderland 1-0 thanks to a goal from Danny Welbeck. And the good thing is about this Brighton rebuild is there is no European football, so we are very much going to fly through this rebuild. It's not going to take us long to really get into the meat and bones of the season. We are literally in the Premier League, Carabao Cup and FA Cup, and already we are sitting top 4 in the Premier League, a point away from joining the top spot. Carabao Cup, we are through to the next round, and of course FA Cup, that'll be from January, so let's crack on. But that does also mean there is no excuse for poor performances, as rotation is not an option at all. We lost 2-1 to Spurs, drew 2-2 against Bournemouth, and 0-0 against Leicester, and Jason Steele got an 8.1 and kept us in this game. We really are actually struggling. Thankfully though, it was that man yet again, James Milner, that bailed us out and got us 3 points against Aston Villa. But December was much the same, playing against a lot of big sides and trying to master the more defensive formation. We lost 1-0 to Chelsea, 2-0 to Manchester United, and 4-2 to Arsenal. So goals really were leaking, and Bart Verbruggen is injured, which means Jason Steele is in goal. Bart Verbruggen is slowly coming back from injury, thankfully, but Jason Steele just isn't cut out to be that guy, and I think we need another centre-back. As well as Tanaka has been good, I think we need someone a little bit better in January to really help us in this defence. But it's safe to say it wasn't all bad. Don't get me wrong, these tactics are absolutely fantastic, and they are going to be developed into being some real top-notch ones, but there was certainly room to grow. Obviously, a 1-0 lead against Ipswich thanks to a penalty from João Pedro, but Ipswich pegged us back, and they actually took the lead at the Amex Stadium as well. And at this point, I was absolutely fuming. There was so much work to be done, and João Pedro whipped it into Mitoma to make it 2-2. We then go into the half-time whistle, and I absolutely grilled the team. Milner found Lewis Dunk, and he found a great ball back into James Milner, who scores another screamer, by the way. turning out to be a fantastic utility player to make it 3-2, and Dunk made it 4-2 from the backstick header. A win for the first time in what feels like forever. And we backed that up for a 1-0 victory over Wolves as well, before going into our Carabao Cup quarter-final, which was going to be played up against Arsenal, the team we had just lost 4-2 to, and Eddie Nketiah got them off to a great start in just 16 minutes. This was a trophy I really wanted to win, so luckily that man again, James Milner, becoming a bit of a talisman scorer, scores from the spot, and then whips the ball in here to find Yakumba Minte, who scores his first goal for the club, and sends Brighton into the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, beating Arsenal, an absolutely massive result, and sends them a semi-final against West Ham, a team we can certainly beat. It is Spurs or City in the final, but you never know. The magic of a cup final, we could lift that one. It is now January the 1st. I did tell you we weren't going to be messing about. We are messing about in the league, though. We have dropped out of the European places all the way down to 8th, which, I mean, it isn't that bad giving yourself, your Brighton, but we can certainly do better, and we are going to be looking to get back in to that top 4 by the end of the season. But as I mentioned, January, I think we need some strengthening. We have got a lot of money to do so let's get into some business. And the main piece of business we done was bringing Fabian Enzo Boyomo from Valladolid, keeping to the Brighton way of signing a fantastic young centre-back. He was signed at the very end of January, as it took me a while to find the man I wanted, but an either-footed, very fast, fantastic defender. That'll tick a lot of boxes for me. And after that, I signed 2 wonder kids for you guys. Jordan Barrera is number 1 from Junior over in Colombia. He cost me £1 million. He has 5-star potential, and it's pretty fantastic. And finally, it's Sky Vink, who we signed from Ajax. We all know Sky Vink. He's a fantastic wonder kid. £5 million, loaned straight out to Stoke in the Championship. Extreme consistency. Hopefully, he can show that in the Championship. And that was it in terms of transfers. You can see here, we sold £28 million, signed £30 million, and another 15 back here as well. But overall, a pretty good window for us, making just £2 million off of signings. Lots of money still in the bank. Luckily at Brighton, they're a very, very rich club, so if you do want to pick this save up on Patreon, you're going to have some great fun. Now, we did kick off January a little bit stinky. First of all, a 3-0 loss against West Ham, who we have got in the Carabao Cup, thanks to a Jarrod Bowen masterclass, a hat-trick. And that was followed up by getting knocked out of the FA Cup to Norwich. So we are already pinning all of our hopes of winning silverware onto the Carabao Cup after this, I mean, stupid result, to be honest. A penalty and a 90th minute goal. They had 2 shots. We had 17. And when it was after that Norwich game that we really nailed the tactics, I'm going to go through with you now the tactics, because we're about to hit some pretty ridiculous form from pretty much now to the end of the season. We're going to kick off with a standard goalkeeper in goal, one defender with no further instructions, with 2 ball-playing defenders either side with no further instructions, of a ball-playing defender on cover with no further instructions. We move on to the wing-backs left and right, both on support, both have run wide and stay wider, and that's because they're getting outside 2 inverted wingers on attack, which are on no further instructions on both of them. So you can imagine with this formation, João Pedro and Matoma sitting on these cam rolls, with March and Estupinian getting outside of them, with Baleba coming in as well on tackle harder as a segundo volante on support, with Mats Weifer on Roman playmaker on support, picking up the ball and getting it and dictating the play. And up top is a complete forward on attack, no further instructions. This formation absolutely cooked, and you're going to see what we're about to do, because it's going to be unbelievable form. It is set to a positive mentality, fairly wide of the attacking width, our defence left and right, so we do really get them wing backs going forward. Shorter passing directness, higher tempo, low crosses into the final third. In transition, counter press and distribute to the centre back, and out of possession, it's a high press, a high line, and just 1 tick on the trigger press more often. Now, there is attacking variants and defensive variants which get used a hell of a lot, which are exclusive to the Patreon, and you're going to want to get your hands on them ones. The link for that is down in the description down below. £5 a month, you help support me out massively. You get access to these 3 fantastic tactics, and you also get the access to the rebuild file as well. So if you're looking to pick up a Brighton save, there is no better one to get into. And let me just now show you the crazy run of form we're going to go on. First of all, it's Nottingham Forest again. It was 3-1 on game week number 1, and it would be 3-1 here today as well. And again, this was a fairly rotated side, with even Cozier Dubry getting involved and actually setting up Yakumba Minte to make it 2-1. James Milner, our talisman, scores from the spot yet again to make it 3-0 before Josh Bowler whips it in. A Willy Boly header. It was an own goal at the start of the season, an actual goal in that one. And that was followed up by a 2-0 victory over Crystal Palace before facing Newcastle Newcastle, who we done the double over this season. João Pedro Matoma, Asia Malasel's own goal, and a 94th minute Danny Welbeck goal made it 4-2 and taking all 6 points from this tie back to the seaside. Before we faced up against West Ham, and remember we just lost to these 3-0 in the league. Well, after this formation change, it was a very different story. Leg number 1 was away at Upton Park. Crikey, how far am I going back? A 1-0 victory and a 2-0 from Welbeck as well. We are set up for the second round, where West Ham are going to peg us back to make it just a 1-goal difference, but we were going to be too strong, and that sort of high press system which we have now got in place, paid off massively. João Pedro made it 3-1, and we are going to grab a 4th as well. Again, building up from the back. You can see the inverted wingers getting involved there with Julio Enciso fighting Evan Ferguson, who is finally starting to find a little bit of form because he has not been ticking this season. He now is going to finally start to actually show up. A 2-1 victory, and we're going to the Carabao Cup final. And you know what? Rather than make you wait for that Carabao Cup final, I'm going to bring it to you right now because we're up against Spurs, and we all know what the result of this is going to be. We are going to win because Spurs don't win trophies, do they? Mats Pfeiffer finds Baleba at the back stick to make it 2-0, and that was all she wrote in this one. And Brighton had won a trophy. The Carabao Cup was coming to Brighton, and the last time Brighton won a trophy was God knows when. I mean, it's really the first major trophy they've ever won because they won a Community Shield in 1910, a League One. They've won 2 of them, 2 League Twos, an English Southern Premier Division in 1910, an English Third Division South in 1958, and the Carabao Cup is the first major trophy they have won, and we have brought it to them. So massive celebrations. That is a pretty big dub and already secures Conference League football next year, but we have got much higher hopes than that. And the month of February was just as good as January. We beat Brentford 1-0, West Brom 3-0, and Fulham 2-1, thanks to Karen Matoma and Evan Ferguson both getting on the score sheet. We did lose 2-0 to Liverpool, but it has to be said, a much better performance in this one. Our goalkeeper got injured in the 52nd minute. They scored a penalty in the 84th, and in terms of stats, we were actually the better team. Same possession, more shots, would have been more XG if it wasn't for a penalty. It's safe to say we have certainly fixed that defensive formation from conceding 4 to Liverpool to realistically 1 and a penalty. So, all right, 2. And if you remember the game against City, which we got absolutely embarrassed in, that's again completely changed. Just a 1-0, and it was a goal from Erling Haaland, which, I mean, same as the Liverpool game. I'm going to make excuses. It basically doesn't count. And when it was time to face Spurs again, this time after the Carabao Cup final, where we'd already embarrassed them with a 2-0 victory, and I think it's time to try and beat them again. João Pedro scores to make it 1-0, firing past Fraser Forster in goal. He then whips an audacious ball in, an absolute mess up at the back from Spurs, and Ferguson gets in to make it 2-0, and we are going to grab a third as well. Estupiñán finds Matoma, beats Dragusin, Estupiñán whips it in for Baleba, and it's 3-0 in 62. Spurs are going to grab a goal back from a very well worked set piece, but it wasn't enough. A 3-1 victory, and we are showing we are dominating Spurs in this rebuild. Who, by the way, we rebuilt in the last video, and I didn't mock them at all. So if you're a Spurs fan, you're watching this, feel free to go and watch that one. We did drop some points away from home against Bournemouth in the Seaside Derby, but overall not a bad performance. And we nearly got all 6 points of Aston Villa again, but a 90th minute Ollie Watkins goal made it not the case. But in the Premier League, it's safe to say we have certainly resurrected ourselves from being in 8th place and well off the chase to just 7 points outside of Spurs, 2 off Manchester United. With 6 games to go, could we get back into at least Europa League, if not Champions League football with the mighty Brighton? Well, first up was Leicester, and remember, we drew 0-0 to them at the start of this season. This time a 3-1 win, and there is someone in this team which has made a massive difference over the last couple of months and will continue to as well, and that is Julio Enciso. Grabbing a brace here, he finished the season with 6 goals and 4 assists, but they didn't come till right at the end. As you can see from his form chart here, we started playing more games, and he was simply fantastic. And I mean, I feel bad that I didn't use him enough, but with his injury worries last season, I think I sort of integrated him into the team slowly, and I think it's safe to say by the end of the season, he became pretty much a guaranteed starter and has now got a value of 81 million. Next up was Ipswich, and another 2-0 victory. João Pedro and Enciso on the score sheet again, before facing up against Chelsea, a team which we weren't really battling as they had a pretty similar season to the last couple they've had. So Enciso grabs us 1-0 up in 54 minutes, a slight hint of offside, but we won't count that one. It's 1-0, and James Milner Milner finds Mitoma. Again, that inverted winger cutting off that left-hand side, scoring to make it 2-1, and we beat Chelsea. We then beat Wolves 3-0. It's just becoming sort of some ridiculous form we are on, where we are winning every single game, and we're not even becoming close to conceding goals. Once you get these tactics nailed on with the familiarity, the team just absolutely cooks. And well, nothing quite shows that like the final two games of this season, when we're up against Manchester United and Arsenal. And if we wanted to qualify for the Champions League, we had to win both. And well, that's exactly what, of course, we are going to do. Baleba down this left-hand side finds João Pedro, cuts inside and scores a screamer past Onana to make it 2-0. Manchester United then missed a penalty, so we decided we were going to grab a third. We are at the Amex Stadium, and Enciso loves to play here. It's 3-0 off that right-hand side again before Tariq Lamptey finds Enciso, back to Lamptey, back to Enciso, cuts inside, finds Mitoma, 4-0 in this one. Before going to the Emirates, where Arsenal were 2 points ahead of us in the league, sitting in 4th place as we sit in 5th, knowing a victory here would secure us top 4 football. João Pedro scored before trying to get one across to the far side of the box. Ferguson found Mitoma, another absolute screamer, 2-0 past Raya. And Brighton, well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We are in the top 4 on 73 points. The form we have had at the end of this season has been, ridiculous. If we used to look at this schedule from this until January, it was absolutely mental. Winning all 6 games to finish the season, the final 5 not conceding a single goal. We were on tip-top form. We have qualified for the Champions League. We are winners of the Carabao Cup. And it's safe to say this season, Ferguson on 15 and João Pedro on 13 isn't lights-out numbers, which showed it was the whole team collectively getting together, putting in good performances, contributing with goals, contributing with assists. Matt's Viper here, 11 assists and 2 goals. Solly March, 8 assists from that right-back position. Mitoma, just the 1 assist, but 9 goals. Milner, 5 and 5. And the most exciting thing is just the amount of unbelievable young prospects you have at this club. Out on loan, a few star performers. We had the likes of Facundo Buonanotte in the Premier League with Forest, scoring 11 goals in 39 games. Yes, he is still yours and he's worth 119 million. That's just ridiculous. Abdullah Sima in the Championship. The Championship with Norwich. 15 goals. Ridiculous. Billy Gilmore, he's still yours. Along at Chelsea, did very well. Sky Vink, 3 goals in the Championship and 13 off the bench. Not too bad at all. Ibrahim Hobson, 51 games in the Championship, 9 goals. You just know in the FM match engine with 17 pace, 16 acceleration, 16 dribbling, he's going to be lights out good, so make sure to use him. This save is going to be great for any Brighton fans or anyone looking for a fun save for the end of FM24. Patreon link down below. You can get access to it. A massive thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.